first thing I noticed about Becky, this is going to be a little silly, but it was the first night that I met her. She had on these white shorts on, and she looked really sexy in them.
Probably his smile. He has a great big smile that's contagious. We were going out downtown to Lula's with Mike and I think a few other people from work.
So that night that she was wearing those white shorts, we were, she and I were just having a casual conversation and just talking. And one of the conversations that we were having that night was silly. It was, about my last name. There's a little squiggly line above the N.
We started having conversations about his name, and the tilde is what it's called.
And I didn't know what it was called. She didn't know what it was called. So we were just kind of talking about that. And so sure enough, the next day I get a message on Facebook. It was Becky, and she says, "Oh yeah, it's called, the tilde, and she was like, "Yeah, it was fun hanging out and talking to you." I was like, "Oh, she was attractive." Right off the bat, I just didn't think that she was interested.
I remember Porter had texted me and said something along the lines of, "Would you be interested in meeting up with Jorge or hanging out with him again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And then a week later, same thing. We went back down to Lula's with a big group of people.
That's when I asked Porter, I said, "Hey, what's up with your coworker Becky? And you see if she's interested." And that's how it all came about. Porter asked her, and she was interested.
And then a week later, we went back down to Lula's with a big group of people.
And that's when I met Katie, Mike, Sarah, and Steve. They were there. And then pretty much the majority of the Ohana clan were there at Lula's that night. And I didn't even think it was anything like that. Like I was going to meet everyone or whatever the case is. I just thought that, it was just going to be friends hanging out. But it ended up being like this event where Becky and Jorge are hanging out and they're talking. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty funny now because I didn't know it was like this big event.
I remember that night we're leaving Lula's and someone had said something about going to IHOP, and I had ridden down there with Katie and Mike, and Jorge's like, "Oh, are you going to go to IHOP?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. And I remember looking over at Katie and she'd been like, "Go, Becky, go to IHOP. You're going. I'm like, okay, I'll go to IHOP. So me, Jorge, Amy, and Jeremy and Ashley went to IHOP that night. And then Jorge dropped me off at home afterwards, and he was very respectful. So that was our first, not date, but the first time we hung out outside of the bar, I guess.
My favorite memory, that's tough. There's so many.
I don't really have a favorite memory with Jorge. We have so much fun doing whatever.
I would probably say our first date. I picked her up, and of course she looked gorgeous. And we went out to San Juan Cafe.
We have fun camping. We have fun celebrating birthdays. We have fun, just going out with our friends. We have fun traveling anywhere that we go. It's always so much fun.
We just had a great conversation, a great meal. We learned a lot about each other, and it was just one of those things where that's just an unforgettable night.
Pinning down a favorite memory is so hard because there are so many good memories that we have of each other.
My favorite thing about Jorge.
My favorite thing about Becky.
He makes me feel just comfortable around him. He's easy to talk to, pretty honest. And then the fact that he speaks Spanish is definitely a plus as well.
My favorite thing about Becky is definitely her smile. Wow, I would say probably the third night I stayed over her house.
Well, I think whenever we first started dating, I knew that there was something different about him.
It just felt something different that I've never felt before.
that something different was that he just wasn't playing games or anything like that. Like, he was serious about our relationship.
I just feel like sometimes you just know, and I just knew at that point.
But when I knew that he was the one, I don't know if there was like a defining moment for that for me. He would probably say as soon as we met, he knew. But yeah, I don't know if there was a moment. I think it just kind of happens over time. You know, once you start getting into your relationship and start getting serious, and you start talking about getting married and stuff like that, which is something that we definitely talked about before we even got engaged. So I don't think there's a exact moment that I knew, but whenever we met, I definitely knew that he was different than other guys.
Real weird, suspicious things that had happened in the last few months. Text messages from my sister, hushed conversations, and we're at our friend's house and Jorge's talking to someone, and then when I walk in, it's silent. Just little things like that definitely made me suspicious.
The first week of December was when I decided that I was going to propose to Becky New Year's Day.
Originally, I did think that Jorge was going to propose to me on Christmas morning.
2 weeks before Christmas was when I finally went to Reed's to go look at rings. I found 3 rings in particular that she may like. Got with Katie later that night through text, and Katie helped me pick out the ring.
Eventually, I did say something to my sister, Katie, about it, which made me even more suspicious because her reaction was her basically saying, I don't know what to say. So, obviously, something was going on.
It was December 23rd when Crystal's friend Amy finally reached out to me via email and said that they were going to have the ring so I could pick it up on Christmas Eve or the day after Christmas. So I decided the day after Christmas would be the best day because I'm off. And then I had an excuse. So the 26th came, and I needed to go feed my buddy Venziel's cat because he was out of town. And so I told Becky that morning, I was like, hey, I'm going to go feed Venziel's cat. I'll just be back in a little bit. She's then like, well, I'll just go with you because I need to get a case and a screen protector for my iPad. And I'm like, no, you could find one online cheaper. And, you know, she's like, well, I don't know. And I was able to convince her to just let me go.
So it wasn't Christmas morning. I'm thinking, all right, so it's not going to be Christmas morning. What's the next big thing we have going on? Our ski trip in February. I thought, hey, that would be a good time.
So I leave and I go pick up the ring. I'm gone for like an hour and a half. I get back and she's wondering what took so long. So of course I'm like, yeah, I hung out with the cat for a little bit and I felt bad, and then I had to drop off our comforter at the dry cleaner. So I had the ring at that time, and then New Year's Day came.
I didn't really think that he would do it at New Year's. Ski trip in February is when I was convinced that would be it.
I came home to let Styles out and to feed Granger, and I ended up taking a nap for like 3 hours. And she calls me all upset because obviously I'm gone for 3 hours.
Probably about 11:30 or so, I'm like, you know what? Jorge is still gone. I'm trying to be patient with him. He's been gone for 3 hours. I don't know what's going on. I figured he had fallen asleep, which when I called him, he had fallen asleep. Obviously, a bit of sleep. He's like, oh, I'll be there shortly. So I'm like, all right. He must have booked it because he was there very, very soon after that.
So I get back and I get the ring out of the trunk and I go immediately to the bedroom that we were staying at, and Sarah and Steve and the kids were in there because we were sharing a room at the house that we rented. And Steve's laying down on the air mattress, and I asked him, I was like, do you want to look at it? He's like, yeah. So I take it out of my hoodie pocket and like I toss him the box. And he gets all nervous, like, dude, why are you throwing it? Of course, I chuckle, and he looks at it, and he shows Sarah, and they're smiling and nodding with approval that they like the ring.
Probably a couple weeks before New Year's, Jorge, had come up to me and said he really wanted to make sure that we took time to take pictures, just the two of us this year, specifically because last year we had gotten into like a little argument because I wanted to go take pictures and he, I don't know, was being impatient or being typical Jorge. He came up to me and said he really wanted to take pictures, just the two of us, and I said, thanks for trying to make up for last year, that's great. Let's definitely try to do that.
I'm getting dressed and thinking about how I'm going to say what I was going to say because I already had it all planned in my head. So it comes time close where it's like, all right, we're going to go, Becky and I, to take our picture by ourselves on the beach like we've done the last 2 years. And I go back downstairs to the bedroom to get the ring, and I take the ring out of the box, put it in my shirt pocket, and ask Sarah if the ring is noticeable, and she says no.
Eventually, I started to get ready. I had asked my sister if she could curl my hair. I'm sitting upstairs in the house, getting my hair curled, getting my makeup done. While Jorge is I think he was just sitting on the couch watching TV or just hanging out with everyone. He already had his green shirt on. I had gone downstairs to get something, and I was like, oh, hey, Sarah, we're gonna go take pictures here in a minute. You're coming, right? And she's like, oh, well, my camera is charging, so I can't really take it off the charger right now. And so I'm like, okay. Because I thought that was the whole point of us taking pictures with Sarah, so we could have really good pictures. So I went back upstairs and told Jorge, Sarah's camera's charging, so what do you want to do? And he's like, well, let's just go and take pictures, just you and I, with our phones. I'm like, oh, okay.
We decide to walk out to the beach. The sun's shining and we're taking our pictures with our phone. And I just start telling her how excited I am for 2015, how 2015 is going to be a big year. And of course she says, how so? So I would try to be subtle and say, well, it's going to be a big year for Lumina Shine because we're working on a big account. And then I started talking about how it's going to be big for us, how it's going to be a new beginning. I told her how much I loved her, that I'm ready to spend the rest of my life with her, and as I tell her that, I go down on one knee and grab the ring out of my shirt pocket, and she's just in shock. She's saying, oh my goodness, this isn't happening, and then I ask her to marry me, and then she's just starts saying, I can't believe this. Are you serious? Are you serious? Are you serious? She was just in shock, crying, tears of joy, of course. It took her about 2 minutes to finally say yes, because she kept saying that she couldn't believe this. She kept saying, or asking me if I'm serious.
We're standing on the beach, talking about how 2015 is going to be a good year. Jorge is talking about how he's really excited for things to come. Lumina Shine's gonna grow. He was talking about different things too. Don't really remember what, because this is where it kind of becomes a blur. And then next thing I know, I'm looking over and he's down on one knee. And I'm like, what is going on? And then he pulls the ring out of his shirt pocket. It's all sparkly and shiny underneath the sun. It was nice and sunny on that day. I'm like, are you serious? I can't believe this. Are you serious? Because I had no idea that that's what was going to happen. No idea.
I was a bit emotional too. I had some tears, I'm sure, just because I was happy, and this is a big step for me, for her, for us. That was why I wanted the first day of 2015 to be the day. It's a fresh start, a new beginning for us, the beginning of our engagement until our wedding, and then our wedding is going to be who knows when, but we're looking forward to it. And that's the story of how I proposed to Becky and her reaction.
The ring is perfect, by the way. Exactly what I would have chosen for myself, exactly.